Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for September 4th to September 10th of 2016. And on September 4th, we have the sun. You can see it denoted right here by this black circle with the dot in it. It's in Virgo. It's also in the 64th hexagram. On the outside of the wheel, we have the chop mark for the 64, numbered from bottom to top. The 64 goes yin, yang, yin, yang, yin, yang. And the 64th hexagram is then mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here, this is the 64th gate of confusion before completion. Transition, like birth, requires a determined strength for the passage through. Located in the head center in a collective abstract energy path in the sensing circuit called the Channel of Abstraction, a design of mental activity mixed with clarity that connects to its harmonic, the 47th gate of realizing oppression, a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on September 4th. We have the sun and the north node in the 64. The earth and the south node are in the 63. Mercury is retrograde in the 6th gate. We have Venus in the 18th gate. Mars is in the 5th gate. Saturn is in the 9th gate. We've got Uranus, and it's retrograde in the 42nd gate. Neptune is retrograde in the 37th gate, and Pluto is retrograde in the 38th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be helpful if you know your own personal human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And as we begin the week, there are no channel definitions due to the transit field. September 4th begins with the sun in the first line of the 64th hexagram, which is described as conditions exalted in penetrating to the center, the understanding that instills the necessary harmony to survive disorder. Amongst the confusion, the difficulty in finding the point, detrimented the powerful temptation when having transition in sight to hasty action, the urge to act when you think you have made sense of confusion. And then later on the 4th, the sun then moves into the second line of the 64th hexagram, and this shift happens at 6:21 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 10:21 UT. The sun in the 64-2 is described as qualification, exalted, the inner development which recognizes what qualities are essential for transcendence and the awareness that without them action will fail. Inner development that can end confusion over what makes sense. Detrimented, constantly in action, it wastes the very qualities and resources that it will need, getting lost in confusion and the burden of the psyche. On the 5th, the sun then moves into the third line of the 64th hexagram at 5:33 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 9:33 UT. The sun in the 64-3 is overextension, exalted, the wisdom to recognize when one has not the necessary resources to complete transition. Such timely awareness that may give it a chance to seek assistance. The wisdom to accept confusion as a temporary state that will be resolved in time and through others. Detrimented, the risk of a superficially confident personality that when the transition collapses, there is no one to turn to. Overconfidence that the fates will be kind on demand. And then on the 6th, the sun then moves into the fourth line of the 64th hexagram at 4:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 8:45 UT. The sun in the 64.4 is described as conviction, exalted, symbolized by its phases, the moon as an assured of transition, convinced by its very process that it will triumph. The assuredness that confusion is a process and the results in realization. Detrimented where force and the energy alone cannot overcome doubt, where the confusion is so energized, assuredness brings no relief. And then on the 6th, Venus, also on the 6th, Venus moves from the 18 to the 48. And Mars moves from the 5 to the 26. So we have Venus in the human design, which is about values, morality, natural law, in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us, according to Ra. And Venus is in the 48th gate of the depth, the well, the necessary and qualitative foundation that is a prerequisite to establish the common good. And Venus in the first line of the 48, it's in the line of insignificance, exalted, an instinctive recognition of what is practical and deserves attention, a taste for recognizing what is practical and deserves attention, detrimented, an ego tendency to apply energy to trivial considerations, a taste for trivia. And in the program, Venus is about control through maintaining the status quo in the way in which we operate with each other. We experience the transiting planets through the Maya, and we're not here to avoid the Maya, but to embrace it, but embracing it as yourself by following your strategy and authority. And then also on the 6th, we've got Mars moving from the 5 to the 26th. So Mars is in the gate of the egoist, the taming power of the great, the maximization of power of memory applied to the nurturing of continuity. And Mars is detrimented in the first line of the 26th, which is a burdened hand, detrimented accomplishment as license for foolhardy risk-taking, the refusal of the ego to be satisfied. And Mars in the program is about expression through a mutation. This plays out in the mundane plane as change, and these changes take hold in the homogenized world as fads or trends. And this is an illusion because the population is ready for the same changes at the same time because of transiting Mars. On the 7th, the sun then moves into the 5th line of the 64th hexagram at 3:56 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 7:56 UT. The sun in the 64.5 is described as promise, exalted, the values promised in any new order that are demonstrated through the harmonic interactions with others. This strengthens the justification for struggle, confusion over which values and relationships can bring harmony, detriment, a tendency in trying to justify the struggle by focusing exclusively on the failure of the old order that cannot demonstrate the quality of the new, focusing on the past confusions about values and relationships. And then on the 8th, the sun then moves into the 6th line of the 64th hexagram at 3:06 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 7:06 UT. The sun in the 64.6 is victory, exalted, the mental assuredness that knew that victory was inevitable, thus making triumph sweet, but not a reason for excess. The mental gift of enjoying the confusion and its diversity of data. Detrimented, like the story of the Trojan horse, it can be dangerous to get carried away in celebration, lest one loses vigilance and perspective. With the diversity of data, it is easy to lose perspective. On the 9th, the sun then moves from the 64, leaving behind the north node, and it moves into the 47, defining the Asana center and the head center. And the Earth moves out of the 63, leaving behind the south node, and it moves into the 22nd. All right, so we have the Earth is in the 22nd gate of openness, grace, a quality of behavior best suited for handling mundane and trivial situations. And this shift happens at 2:16 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 6:16 UT, with the sun in the 47th gate of realizing oppression, a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. And the sun is in the first line of the 47, which is taking stock, exalted the ability in times of hardship to concentrating on eradicating the negative factors that have led to oppression, realizing that negative thoughts have to be eradicated, detrimented the delusion in seeing oppression as an exclusively external phenomena with disastrous results, the sense that the world is against us, against you. And as we move from the 64 to the 47, we enter a gate of sharing a sense of the past. This is a collective abstract gate of integrating mental chaos. This brings the potential realization that life is never exactly what we want. It isn't always favorable, and that brings wisdom and maturity. This is an ajna center gate, so it's important to realize how futile it is to want to determine how to live your life based on mental conclusions. There is no certainty. Instead, we can make sense out of our past experiences. This is about relationships in the quarter of duality, and oppression is about a relationship with another. Even self-oppression is a relationship where you are the other as well. The 47 is about sharing subjective perceptions of the past. Its harmonic gate, and with its harmonic gate, it forms a channel with the 64. And I believe this is really the only place in the wheel where a gate immediately follows its harmonic. The 64 is a head center gate that brings pressure to make sense of the past. This is the channel of abstraction. It's about reviewing memories, reviewing experiences, and being collective, sharing those past events with others. Its polarity is the solar plexus gate 22, grace, and this brings a wave of balanced behavior or not. This brings us to the third variation of the cross of rulership, looking for inspiration in past experiences, establishing rulership by aligning with what was popular from the past and pledging to correct what was wrong in the past. Oppression is here to challenge us to deal with what we don't like when the sun is in the 47. And with the north node in the 64 and the sun in the 47, this brings us to the channel of abstraction, a design of mental activity mixed with clarity until September 16th. The energy of this channel is about creating something new out of something old. This is an abstract thought being brought into the collective consciousness through the arts, philosophy, history, and culture. This is a wonderful energy for telling stories about our experiences that inspire others and brings confusion when used to resolve our own issues. And the defined ajna center can influence those without to believe that they're mentally certain of something even when they're not. And the defined head center can also bring pressure to think about things that don't matter. And it's been interesting. We've had this channel quite a bit over the past few months. I have the 6124 and I have the 4. So during this time period, I've had every single mental channel defined. I'm glad that I already have the defined head ajna, so it's probably not as overwhelming for me as it might be for someone else, but it certainly has brought in a lot of different types of thinking that I don't normally associate with. On the 10th, the sun then moves into the second line of the 47 at 1:25 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 5:25 UT. The sun in the 47 too is described as ambition, exalted, the ambition and drive to overcome personal oppression in order to achieve security, realizing that to be busy is mentally healthy. Detrimented, the indecisiveness in times of personal oppression, whether to apply intelligence to recover or accept the weight to take advantage of other prevailing conditions that may only be temporary. The inability to sense when and which activity is healthy. And then also on the 10th, retrograde Mercury backs out of the 6th and it joins the sun in the 47. In mythology, Mercury was the messenger of the gods. So this is communication, or as Ra put it, the expansion of human consciousness through communications, not just as words, but also as music. And it's in the gate of realizing oppression, a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. And retrograde Mercury is in the 6th line of the 47, where it is detrimented in the 6th line due to the sun also being in the 47. This is the line of futility, a difficult position where there is no exaltation. Detriment of the sun is in detriment, where the strength of will alone may find a way to adapt and survive, but without hope of ever overcoming the oppression. Life as an ordeal stripped of realization. In the program, Mercury is about expression through communication. It influences the homogenized population to communicate about the themes of the gate and line that transiting Mercury inhabits. Its primary impact is psychological. It impacts the not-self mind. It distorts the way we look at things in a way that leads to action. This conditions people to think and communicate about the same things. And in the 47, I'd expect to hear people talk about having oppressive experiences. So I'd like to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for September 11th, 2016. It should be available on the 10th, when we will continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube, as there's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. And invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And as always, I am blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries, their synthesis and application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh. And as Ra would say, love yourself. All my best, and look forward to connecting with you in the future.